Morning, everyone. Welcome to the December 7th meeting, 10 a.m. in Council Chambers for Infrastructure. And members of the committee are Michael Connor, Gladys Blackmore, John Laners, and Mayor Jackie Clayton. We'll call the meeting to order at 10 a.m. There are no delegations. Our reports, 3.1. Director Service Area Report.
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. We'll start off with economic development. Economic development has made a number of presentations to Rotary clubs and real estate offices around the city to promote the city's economic development incentive and grant programs. There have been 3 new businesses that have opened up since the last committee. As well, our Business Retention and Expansion Coordinator has been very busy processing reimbursements for incentive programs as a number of projects have been wrapping up, and feedback and testimonials continue to be very positive. Through business outreach, we're continuing to hear some concerns about labor availability as well as numerous supply chain issues, and it seems to be across all industries. In energy environment, an unfortunate piece of news on one of the CHP units at the Eastlink Center. Unit 2 had a catastrophic failure and is being replaced. It was taken out of service on December 2nd and will be replaced within the next week. So by next week, the new one should be in and running again. In engineering service, we're continuing to prepare RFPs and tenders for 2022 construction season. As well, we're removing 3 overhead sign structures along 100th Street and 116th Avenue from the former bypass that are no longer necessary, as well as are aging out and would need to be replaced. We've deemed that they are no longer necessary and can be replaced with conventional signage. In planning and development, planning staff have prepared a terms of reference for an area structure plan in the rural service area around Wood Lake and anticipate presenting it to committee in January. In transportation, we put up all of the new hospital directional signage over the weekend to coincide with the new hospital opening, as well as remove the old ones. As well on 109th Avenue, where there's the new intersection off of the former bypass into the hospital. We're continuing to monitor signal timing changes that we made there to ensure optimal traffic flow. In transportation, the first round of residential snow service completed last Friday. In parks, we continue doing pruning activities throughout the trail systems, as well as getting ice established at the city rinks. Currently, we've had 36 applications for the neighborhood rink program, and with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Director Glavin. Excellent report, as usual. Any questions, Mayor Clayton?
Ice rinks, 39 applications. Remind me how many applications in total we had last season?
Chair O'Connor. I don't have the exact number from last season, but it was a little over 40, if I remember correctly.
That's what I thought. Thank you. Second question in regards to hospital signage, whose responsibility is it to update Google, for example? Is it ours? Is it HS? And if so, whoever's it is, has that been done?
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. Through discussions with AHS, they've confirmed that they have reached out to Google and had that updated.
Okay, perfect. And third question, in the snow and ice updates, I don't know if all of council is aware, but you can go on to engage.cityofgp.com. You can click off regular information pieces that you want. One of them is snow removal. It tells you updates. I get emails anytime there's an update, where they are, where they're working, what they're doing. Is it possible, Director Glavin, that the updates be a little bit more accurate, I guess, is the only word that comes to mind. I find that they update saying, we'll be in these neighborhoods. It's pretty vague, not in regards to we'll be in these neighborhoods. The reality of it, we know they're not getting to all those neighborhoods until the second go around. So I just wonder, our expectation is people move their vehicles, they make sure that it's easy for people so that we can remove the snow. In order for that to have more participation from people who do park on the street, I just wondered if there's a more factual approach that could be in the communication.
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. So depending on the level of snowfall in any neighborhood, we may or may not get through the entire neighborhood in the first pass. It is, if we have a relatively light or easy snow to deal with, it's possible that we get through the majority of a neighborhood in one day, as opposed to needing the second cycle. So in the event that it is that condition, it's still advantageous to have all the cars off the road so we can see how far we can progress.
Okay, so to that point then, can the report that comes out the next day saying what neighborhoods are going to be in address saying we'll continue these neighborhoods next week? Because it seems very generic. It's not realistic. It's like, it'll be cobblestone, da-da-da-da-da, and then the next day it's this, this, and this. But then if you're living in cobblestone and they didn't get there, you don't know if they're coming back. And so I just wondered if it can be more accurate in the messaging.
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. We'll take that back and see what we can do.
Thank you. And that's my questions.
Thank you, Mayor Clayton. Dylan, then Councillor Bosch.
Great, thank you, Chair O'Connor. A question about the CHP unit. Is it still under warranty? Is there any expense to us for this replacement?
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. Yes, it's still under warranty, and it's entirely the cost of the vendor.
Great. And how long so there's 2 units, correct? So how long is the warranty period if there is an issue on the second unit?
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. I'll have to confirm, but I believe it's 2 full years of replacement warranty on each of the turbines.
Okay. And is any work being done to make sure we might not have the same failure on that unit if there's a defect or something that might not show itself till after 2 years?
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. They are regularly inspected. However, I can take that back as well, just to ensure that we're doing enhanced due diligence on the second turbine.
Excellent, thank you.
Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. So this is just kind of a tech question regarding the snow removal. Do we have something, or can we have something in the future that is like, the food delivery apps, where they can track the vehicle where it's at? Can we do that with our snow removal?
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. We do have some GPS equipment on our snow removal. However, it would not facilitate that level of communication at this time. So that would require investment in order to make that happen, and buy a program and likely upgrade the GPS units in some of those vehicles.
Is that something that we can look at? Because I think the public would appreciate knowing where all these graders and trucks are, and it would be such a simple app to look at on each of their phones instead of, going through different portholes and websites and so forth.
Thanks, Chair O'Connor. So that is something that we can certainly look at, and would likely need to bring forward a budget request to next year's budget in order to do that. I know that it has been looked at in the past, and I believe there's a number of things that need to be worked through or addressed in order to make that happen.
Okay, thank you. I think it'd be cool.
Yes, Councillor Blackmore, then Councillor Bressy.
Director Glavin, I would like to go back to the CHP turbine for a minute. You said it was a catastrophic failure, which would indicate it was completely unexpected. I'm wondering, is there any possibility that it had been, I know it's not the favorite, not favored among some of the neighbors over there, if it was an intentional sabotage or a failure, and if we know why it failed?
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. We have no concerns about anybody intentionally sabotaging this one. It's been determined to be a manufacturing issue, and it's unlikely to be seen again. Turbines, generally speaking, are very reliable, as there's not nearly as many moving parts as there is with a traditional, reciprocating engine. We're not expecting to have a lot of issue. These units have been in service for many years in industry across North America, and generally speaking, they have high uptime. We think this is an anomaly.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bressy.
Great, thank you. Just a comment on what Councillor Bosch was talking about, the snow removal. I just hope that that would be part of the conversation when we do the snow level service review in the spring. I know it's definitely something that I intend to bring up there, so just fair warning to administration that I'll be bringing that up when we do that review. So I hope we have some good discussion about it.
Any other questions? I see none. I see none online. And there is, under item 4, no correspondence. And under other business, 5.1, micro hydro generation system discussion, led by John Laners, Councillor Laners.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Mike O'Connor. Yeah, so I guess one of my curiosities, as I've lived in this town for forever and ever, is you know, we're fortunate enough to have a reservoir, and we're fortunate enough to have a spillway, and usually the third part of that is some type of microgeneration or something. I know the history of it, it was for water supply for the city, but so that wasn't really a need. But I was just curious if we could have that investigated to the possibility to see if there's opportunity there, as you know, since we're heavily involved in carbon reduction and all those kind of things. So I wanted to make a motion that committee direct administration to investigate the regulatory requirements, timelines, and preliminary costs to implement a micro hydro generation system incorporating the existing reservoir and dam structure in Muskogee Park.
Is that motion is in order. Councillor Blackmore.
I have a question for Director Glavin, and that is a little bit of background. I know that previously, say 12 or 15 years ago, this was discussed by the Director of Infrastructure at that time, and he was a big proponent of that, and then it didn't take place. I'm wondering what you would expect, how much would you expect there to be budgetary implications by undertaking a review or an assessment of the idea, which I'm fully supportive of the idea. I just want to know if there's budgetary consequences.
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. To do a very high-level review, we could likely do internally. We do have some flow monitoring equipment in the area, so we can, you know, do some very high level. It would depend on the method of hydro generation that we would be talking about. I'm not sure if Councillor Laners had anything in specific, or if this was just a general exploration exercise on what this particular spillway might allow. So I think that we would do a very high level review, and if there were any budgetary implications, we'd come back to committee and seek further direction on that.
Councillor Laners.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I guess you know, my engineering mind, when it looks at that problem, it sees a directional drill from the bottom to the top and a little manhole with a little generator in it. It really is. I'm not anticipating something grand and marvelously expensive, but you're right. I think I'm more concerned about whether there's any regulatory rules that we would or hurdles that we'd have to overcome. If there's any fisheries issues, excuse me, and then whether there's sufficient flow and, you know, some general feasibility. You're right, at a high level at this stage of the game, and then if it makes sense, then moving forward to including it in next year's budget.
CAO Galante.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I can comment a little bit about the matter in general. So, you know, thinking a little bit about this, in agreement with Director Glavin, we can do some high level cost estimation about a couple of options. One will be what is called run of the river system. That is pretty much a turbine that is generating some electricity pretty much with the surface water. In this particular dam, we don't have what is called a penstock. That is a pressure conduit kind of penetrating through the dam itself. So in this case, the dam was not designed back in the day, with this system. So in order to do, the other option will be to generate via a pressure conduit. We will have to, because this is an earth field dam, the intention to drill through that is not the, not in this case, right? Because we'll create tubification across the dam. So in a concrete dam, in a concrete wall, yes. In an earth field dam, it's not an option. So in order to do that, we have to capture the water upstream via an intake that will be pressurized. I put a conduit, the penstock, I would say, around the dam, which will create some friction on the pipe, but that's fine. And then the turbine at the bottom of the spillway. So those will be the two options: run of the river or a forced conduit. Do some high-level cost estimate, and also calculate the power generated. So we can do revenue versus expense. Very high-level feasibility at this time. And then, if the numbers are, looking okay, then we can potentially look for some budget implications to go into further studies. So those will be the two options.
Councillor Blackmore.
My next question has to do with timing. So, CEO Galante, what do you think would be a reasonable length of time for you to take to undergo that high-level look?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A high-level estimate, probably I would say maybe in the 2 to 3 month period. We can run some numbers. We need to measure the difference in elevation there to calculate the head for the power formula. I ran some preliminary numbers when I saw the item coming. So between probably 100 kilowatt to 150 kilowatt could be feasible in order to generate. That has to be connected to the grid, do some net metering. We can sell the power to the grid. We need to connect with AUC, the Alberta Utilities Commission, to see how much they would pay or ATCO, I would say, to feed the grid with that kind of a green energy generated via hydro. So I would say 3 months. Probably we can do some calculations and come back with some high order estimates to council.
So I don't know what council's previous practice was. When you add this to the outstanding items list, that's what would happen following this motion. Do we assess a time limit to expect it to come back, and should that be included in the motion?
Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chairman O'Connor. Councillor Blackmore, traditionally what happens is it goes away on the outstanding items list. On our next standing committee, you'll see a date and a person identified to it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Mike.
Councillor Later.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd be just curious to see what grants are applicable to this, if there's anything that's available as part of that process, right, as well. So I'm sure you do that anyway, but I'm not familiar with all that stuff, so thank you.
We'll call for the motion then. Call for the vote. That is carried unanimously. Point. Thank you, Councillor Bosch. Okay, order, please. Let's look at the bylaw and policy review and 6.1. What is that? Pest management policy. And Oh, there he is. Oh, go ahead, can't see it, Mr. Davies, De Beers.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair O'Connor. My name is Case DeVries. I'm one of the parks supervisors here at the City of Grande Prairie. Here today on a bit of a housekeeping item. This is to review to present on a review of the Pest Management Policy 703. The recommendation today is that the Infrastructure and Economic Development Committee accept this report for information. Just a brief background, Policy 703 was adopted in 2014 to ensure the city follows integrated pest management methods, which are recognized as the industry standard for pest control on the landscape. IPM is really a decision-based pest management system that considers an ecological approach first to reduce pest populations while maintaining environmental sustainability. Following review of 703, administration determined that no revisions are required at this time as the policy accurately captures our current pest management practices. We conducted some stakeholder engagement. Internally, obviously, we worked with a number of departments. Specifically on this review, we worked with our environmental services group, who are supportive of the integrated pest management or the IPM approach. And externally, administration continues to participate in engagement opportunities with a number of organizations, such as the Society to Prevent Dutch Elm Disease, which provide integrated pest management guidance, and of course involve other municipalities such as the cities of Edmonton, Red Deer, and Lethbridge, all who actively employ IPM in their control of pests. So just in summary, at this time, administration requires no revisions to Policy 703, and will continue with the strategies outlined in the policy and the accompanying plan. So I'd be happy to field any questions. Again, the recommendation today is that the Infrastructure and Economic Development Committee accept this report for information.
Yes, Councillor Blackmore.
So I think that the IPM is a great policy, and I'm fully supportive of it. But I still want to know what other options might be for pest control, and how specific it is to individual types of pests. Like, what do we do for mosquito control? What do we do for midge control, like any of those other pests? Can you tell me what you think other options are that we may or may not have considered?
Certainly. Thank you, Chair O'Connor. So IPM itself, maybe I'll just give a high-level overview. In the past, if the pest was identified on the landscape, say we can use mosquito, for example, it was often quickly, the first decision was, okay, we need to address that pest with a pesticide. IPM and the approach with integrated pest management is to look at alternative solutions or more biological solutions for pest control. And so use of pesticide is sort of the last tool in the toolbox under the IPM principle. And so we look for other either biological controls or biopesticides, so a bioinsecticide. We're trying to target with that species and then finding biological and ecologically appropriate solution to address that pest.
Any other questions for Mr. DeVries? Well, Councillor Lehners and then Councillor Berg. So go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. I see one of the advantages of being a rookie councillor is I get to ask dumb questions. So if I wanted to spray my lawn for weeds, am I violating a city rule, or am I allowed to do that on private property? Just curious. And I'm using the regular stuff, not the fancy biological stuff. I mean the stuff the farmers use.
Yes, thank you, Chair O'Connor. So in 2008, a council decision was made for the municipality, so our operations, to not continue broadleaf control on a large sense, but the individual homeowner can still conduct their own.
Considered a pest, be it coyotes, beavers, deer, anything like that, and how is that handled?
Yes, thank you, through Chair O'Connor. Certain vertebrates, certainly a large focus of the Integrated Pest Management Plan is on insects and disease. Those are sort of the primary impacts to when we consider parks operations. The plan from 2013 does touch briefly on vertebrate, what would be considered vertebrate pests. Fish and wildlife certainly has a large role to play when it comes to sort of our larger predators, I'll say. As a city, we do have a hand in things like beaver pest control. And so the province indicates that beaver are considered a pest. And so it's sort of up to the municipality or essentially the landowner to determine on how to address control of those types of pests.
Thank you. Any other questions? That was an excellent report, Mr. DeVries. Thank you very much for your report. Yes, I will entertain a motion to accept this report.
Report for information. No, Council? We don't care about them today? Okay. You got it good, right?
That is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And the number 7 outstanding items list.
Thank you, Chair O'Connor. With the addition of the microgeneration, there are no other changes.
Motion to accept the outstanding items list. Councillor Laners?
Items list.
Thank you. Call the question. Carried unanimously. Thank you very much. And for right now, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. No more motion, and we will take 5 minutes for a break. Thank you.